Hey everyone, this is your animator, Vincent theLEGO. For this month, I've decided to take a different approach to this channel. Video game countdowns. Shall we begin? Alright, now that we got introductions out of the way, we are going to talk about the best of the portable library. I present to you 4 countdowns to commemorate Nintendo's portable powerhouses, starting with the Game & Watch. Alright everybody, top 10 Game & Watch games, starting now. Now here's a charming little game with a simple concept. All you gotta do is punch the hit points out of the opponent until he gets knocked out. It's a simple goal, yes, but there's a bit more to it. Boxing allows you to punch, defend, and even dodge attacks. The configuration is incredibly simple, and it's a clear example of symmetrical gameplay. But it also leads to a lot of strategy in the game as well. The classic mode is easy. I mean, it's so easy, it's funny. Scratch that. It's so easy, it's kind of sad, actually. But the real fun, however, comes in the modern edition, in Game & Watch Gallery 4, where you gotta make sure you make the right moves. But even then, it's still not that quite challenging, which is why it's slower on the list. Actually, this is the only game in existence where Luigi fights his doppelganger while Luigi. Seriously, in every other instance, it's just a competition of either tennis or go-karting. But here, on the other hand, they're out to take names. Boxing is a great starting point for the newcomers of the franchise. A simple concept, really fun and addicting, and a really good way to get stars for Game & Watch Gallery 4. Boxing is the way to go. Vermin may not seem like much at first, but when those points rack up, the levels of hectic gaming intensify exponentially. So you got yourself 2 hammers, and you got a mole problem. The ultimate game of whack-a-mole ensues. Vermin is also one of those games that gets a drastic change from classic mode to modern mode. Classic mode has 5 holes all lined up straight, and both of your hammers are spaced 1 hole from each other. It gets hectic, but the patterns get really predictable. So you shouldn't have problems with high scores and getting those stars. Modern mode is a different beast altogether. Sure, you got your 2 hammers as per usual, but now you got 6 eggs to protect.
Ah, this is bad!
And holy cheese, you will lose your mind. So much tension, so little recovery. Each egg can take up to 3 hits and can recover after getting a certain point goal, but if one of them, I repeat, if one of those eggs gets destroyed, it's game over, man. Game over. And with that comes with my biggest gripe. It's the polarizing difficulty. The classic mode is too easy, and the modern mode is kinda challenging, so newcomers may experience some difficulties, but it's a really solid game overall. Turtle Bridge is a matter of life or death. There's no simple way around it.
Hey! I take offense to that, living person.
Right, sorry, skeleton. Anyway, so let's start with the concept on this one. There's this guy here, crossing the river back and forth. getting his packages on one side and delivering them on the other. Unfortunately, there's no actual bridge. There are, however, a bunch of turtles around that act in place as a bridge. There are a bunch of fish, and the turtles will dive down to feed on them. If you hop on a turtle that dove for a meal, you fall in the river and get a miss. But that's the classic mode. Let's talk about the modern edition. Modern mode is arguably even more insane because your main character, Little Toad right there, has very slippery controls and can easily lead to a misstep if you're hopping around like a madman. I know what you're saying.
Hey, doesn't that make modern mode harder?
To which I say, nope. See, the thing is, if you can stay alive for extended periods of time, you can actually get more point bonuses by delivering more valuable stuff, like Starmans or stuff like that. And your score will boost like crazy.
Yeah, look at those points, yeah! No!
Even with some offbeat controls and an odd premise, there's still plenty to love about it. If you love a little chaos, then Turtle Bridge may be up your alley. Just watch out for fish.
Duran, quick, put on this helmet.
And why, pray tell, would I do that?
Didn't you hear? It's raining tools and appliances outside.
I already know this hard hat is some elaborate prank you're trying to pull on me. And by the way, the only raining tool around here is you. Ow.
I warned him.
Game & Watch Helmet is actually quite similar to Turtle Bridge when you get right down to the details. You gotta make your way to the right side, wait for the right moment for an opening, and avoid the oncoming fish, power tools, along the way. There are two differences, however. The first one is that your goal is to get to the right, but not back to the left. You're immediately teleported back, kinda like Pac-Man.
Yeah, freedom, latest suckers. Wait, what the?
And the second difference comes from a second way to get points. You see, you get extra points for every second you stay alive in this screaming metal death trap. Of course, there's always the mistake forgiveness as well. Modern mode honestly has not made much difference, aside from a little block that you can hit to get some coins to get your extra points that way. I should also mention that this game is ridiculously easy. Like, you can get 500 points on your first try in modern mode. Yeah, Gallery 2 definitely had the most forgiveness to first-timers of the franchise. But in the end, is that really a complaint? User-friendliness is next to gaming godliness, after all.
Mario Brothers! No, not that one. Not that one either. Are you even trying?
I love my job. Okay, but in all seriousness, it's this one. The original Mario Brothers is recognized by everyone as the first Mario game to feature his brother Luigi. And while this port keeps true... Wait, that's the only thing that remains the same, actually. This version is completely different from what you remembered Mario Brothers as. I mean, look, this one involves cleaning out the sewers, and this one's about delivering cake. But in all seriousness, this port of Mario Brothers manages to be freaking awesome. Dare I say better than the original it's based off of. For one thing, you get to control both Mario and Luigi at the same time. Controls are really simple for the Game Boy Advance, but I recommend making some adjustments if you're playing it on an emulator, as the controls are usually inverted for a computer. Just a fair warning. As per usual, you get bonuses for clearing certain point goals for both games, but the modern version has just one twist. Bowser will occasionally reverse the direction of the conveyor belts, forcing Mario and Luigi to put it back in track. Look at Luigi. He's in the zone. He's trained his whole life for this. You go, Luigi. Nothing much else to say. Great challenge, spectacular pacing, and a balanced difficulty for both versions. And now for the top 5. And let me tell you, these were hard to sort out for my absolute favorites. So now, without further ado, let's get to... So, in Super Smash Bros., Princess Peach has 3 different weapons as her side smash attack. There's the golf club, the tennis racket, and the frying pan. We can figure out by logic that the club and the racket come from Mario Golf and Mario Tennis respectively. But where does the frying pan come from, you may ask? Well, the skeleton has the answer, and the answer is
Game & Watch Chef.
So yeah, in this little game, you juggle around food and make sure it gets cooked. And that's the basic premise of Classic Mode. Who is the chef preparing food for? The cat? The mouse? Anyone? I don't know. Well, in the Modern Mode, we got more of an answer. We feed Yoshi! What makes this game unique is that it's the only Game & Watch game where you can play as Princess Peach. Awesome! Modern Mode is just a pure blast. The challenge is fair, getting points is relatively easy, and best of all, you get to experience the miracle of life.
It's better than being dead. Trust me, I'm a skeleton.
Quick question, skeleton. How do you fight fire?
Fight fire with fire? Nope. Fight fire with water? No.
The proper way to fight fire is with hammer. Finally, a Game & Watch game that features my favorite Mario character, Wario. In the modern version of this game, Wario defends some scaffolding against bob-ombs and bullet bills, and earned points in the process. What makes this game so unique, you ask? Well, in this game, you get 2 points for every success. Also, you get bonus points for eating tomatoes and having chickens lay eggs towards you. 7 points to be exact. Right off the bat, this feels pretty rewarding and not at all challenging, right?
Wrong!
The catch of this game is figure out which enemy will come first and which will strike first. It gets really confusing, and that tension will build, man. Classic mode is pretty similar, but for some odd reason, the doubled point bonus is only temporary, and that combined with some really confusing chaos makes it just shy of making my top 3. Wario's still awesome, right Wario? Poor DK Jr. The poor fella has been reduced to a mere memory in gaming's history. And that's sad because this version of Donkey Kong Jr. is really good. In this game, you have Jr. here obtain a key to undo 4 locks in Donkey Kong Sr.'s cage. Unlocking a lock gets bonus points based on how quickly you did it. And freeing DK Sr. gets you even more bonus points. And now for the differences. In the classic mode, getting a key will subsequently save the big ape, while in modern mode, it's a separate goal. The game is fairly challenging, especially in those large point runs, but you can make it a bit more easier to get points at the cost of a more tedious experience. Sure, you could save your granddaddy for bonus points, but if you want to ensure a lot of points, you'll find areas that'll give you a slow, constant stream of points, like stomping on this Goomba right here. This is pretty much required in the Game Boy Color's modern version, where there's one area that's horribly glitched after getting a certain amount of points. This guy right here, he refuses to stop, and you are not going to get those bonus points from that point onward, because it will not stop, and that really annoys me. But other than that one flaw, you'll still have yourself a fantastic game on the GBA version. Octopus is the origin of Mr. Game & Watch's famous Final Smash, and one of the best games you'll find in Game & Watch history. Personally, I find myself in a conflicting position, actually. On one hand, I applaud the fantastic gameplay. In classic mode, you grab coins from a treasure chest, while an octopus prevents you from doing so. It may or may not be his insurance money for his family at home, but that's aside from the point. The trick about this game is knowing where to be at the right time. There will always be a safe area, even if all the tentacles are out. Grabbing a coin gets you a point, and returning safely gets you 3 points. This also applies in the modern mode. The difference is that returning safely gets you double the points of what you got from your latest excursions. Got 3 coins? You get 6 bonus points. Got 9 coins? Get 18. Got 100? Well, I mean, that's pretty much impossible at the speed you're going, but you'll get a whopping 200 points for doing so. So what was that conflict I was mentioning about the game? Well, first off, there's no awesome double point score for the classic mode, severely limiting the reward factor. And the other thing? Take it away, Skeleton.
The Game Boy version of the octopus absolutely terrifies the animator. Seriously, it gave him a nightmare as a kid. Watch!
Fortunately, that isn't the case with the Game Boy Advance version, as it is one of the most beautiful things like GBA can process. If you're playing this one, choose modern mode. You'll love it instantly. Game & Watch Ball. Ball has definitely not aged well, but it's still an important milestone for the Game & Watch series regardless. The big problem with it was that there wasn't the 3 strike system in this game. 1 miss and you're out. I suggest playing in the hard mode, ironically, because easy mode is boring. Short and simple, the simplicity of the game was what made it so memorable. If it wasn't successful, then the Game & Watch franchise and possibly even the handheld market would not have survived at all. Thank you, Mr. Juggling Guy, for making the handheld gaming what it is today. You're an honor to our nation. Where do I start with this masterpiece? In Oil Panic, you have to prevent drops of sealing oil from getting into flammable surfaces on the floor. You use a bucket to collect the drops, while another guy assisting you will collect the oil in a drum. Your assistant will move to either side of the building in an easier pattern, so releasing the oil is a rather easy task. In classic mode, getting 300 points will ease your mistakes, but can also make things a lot easier if you can make the checkpoint with no mistakes at all. That's because a second guy will show up at no additional cost. Modern mode is another story altogether. More risk, more reward. This time, you're giving a second bucket to help you out. Giving 3 oil drops to Yoshi down below will get you some bonus points. But what happens when you give him both buckets at the same time? This happens. The best part of this game is how forgiving it is. Most Game & Watch games only have 3 strikes and you're out. This one, however, can allow up to 5 mistakes. If you're wise enough, there are, in fact, 2 separate strike counters. One for missing oil drops, and one for missing the assistant. If you're in a tight wad from one tally, you can sacrifice a miss from the other tally. And finally, my personal reason why this is my favorite Game & Watch game of all time. This was the first ever Game & Watch for me to clear 1,000 points, which got you 5 stars and got you to unlock things in the game. I was around 7 years old when this happened, and this was perhaps my biggest achievement as a kid. Right next to beating Super Mario Land for the first time and getting a fish tank for doing well in the 5th grade. I'm Fawful theLEGO. This has been Top 10 Game & Watch Games, and play Oil Panic, my friends. You won't regret it.